Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, welcoming Heather and Ian from AMC's Turn Washington Spies. Season 2 is upon us, so get ready for a great day behind the velvet rope. Hey everyone, it's me, Arthur Kade, and Heather and Ian. I was just telling you, first of all, congratulations, ringing the NASDAQ bell today for this show. You have AMC's Turn, and I should add Washington Spies to it now because it got a new name since you playing George Washington are going to be featured more. Awesome. Congratulations on that. Congratulations on season 2 of the show. And I was just talking to Ian before you got here, Heather. I love this because I love this period of time in general, but to actually see the formation of America's first spy group is pretty cool. So talk to me about being back for season 2 and being part of this awesome concept.
It's just been a joy to work on this show from the very beginning. I mean, when I first read the script, I thought, not only was it beautifully written and beautifully conceived, but it felt like a story that I had never heard before. I didn't know anything about the spy ring. I knew really basic details about the Revolutionary War. So I felt like this is a story I want people to hear. And just working on it has been a great joy. And the second season is even more complex and interesting. And I get to work with fantastic actors and humans. So it's been really amazing.
That's important. Fantastic actors, but horrible humans would probably not be a good sentence.
Yeah.
You and I were just joking because I interviewed Jesus from Killing Jesus, and I'm like, it doesn't get any better than playing Jesus, but George Washington's probably up there. So talk to me about becoming George Washington. You were researching Martin Sheen, you were telling me, from The West Wing?
Well, yeah, I was, there's a thing that is said often that when you're playing a sort of king or a president, that it's actually not you don't bring that to the table. It's really everyone's reaction to you that sort of makes you who you are. And so I watched Sheen. I was like, he did such a magnificent job on that show. But I was fortunate enough to be able to do a lot of research about General Washington himself and learn so much about himself, about his life and his history, that it really was a very enriching experience to play him. And it was a great honor.
Anna Strong, also a fun character. Talk to me about playing her and bringing her to life.
Anna Strong was a real person who was involved in the spy ring and, famously known for hanging petticoats to signal to her courier. So in terms of spies at that time, women weren't known to be very political. And so actually they made really good spies because people didn't expect them to care or be interested in politics. And Anna, in our show, plays a tavern owner, and she had the ability, by being the owner, to sort of eavesdrop on a lot of conversations. And women were also used as spies because they always needed a chaperone. So they would walk with somebody and kind of, in effect, chaperone a spy to another location. So it's fascinating to hear the history of what women were able to do and how much they risked.
You mentioned the word spy ring because what's fascinating is that this is essentially the beginning of spying in America. Obviously, you see movies like Citizen 4 now, and we see what it's become. But this is grassroots, as basic as it gets, and we see the formation of the revolution. Talk to me about the beginning of the spy ring, because seeing the formation and obviously the introduction of Benedict Arnold, who we know now is Benedict Arnold, but who wasn't quite Benedict Arnold then, seeing that all brought to life, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because Washington was a spy master, and there's some things that are sort of the opposite of what we think. He didn't have wooden teeth; he had ivory teeth, and he didn't cut down the cherry tree, and he told lies all the time.
He was lies really well,
really well. He told them so well that people didn't even know that he had a spy ring until Alexander Rose did this research and found out. Who's one of the producers and writers of our show, and that's really what the show is about. Really, is about the ring. It's not as much about Washington as it is about this team that Washington puts together, and they all, it's Washington spies, and it's about how they infiltrate the English side of the army, and how Washington ends up winning the war because of these 4 characters, which are, Anna and Abe and Ben Talmadge and Caleb Brewster. And it's watching their formation last season, and now we sort of get to see them in action. And we do know that Benedict Arnold does turn and become a traitor. And it's actually, these are the people who are the ones who discover all that. And that's really what the show is about.
Do you find as actors when you're looking, obviously, if you've taken a 5th grade social studies class, you know what happens, but do you find yourself fascinated by the story, even though we know the end result, as you're digging into the scripts and seeing kind of the beginnings that you may have not known about?
Yeah, I think what I found most fascinating is even though we know the ending, we know so little about the process of learning how to spy. And I think we look at history as a kind of beginning, middle, end point, and we kind of see it as a straight line. And I think what's fascinating about this history is they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know if they were going to win, and they didn't even know if winning was better than losing. I mean, they didn't know what independence would feel like. So I think for them, they were scrappy, they were young people, they were kind of rebels. And to see history in that light, as you know, it's less clean, it's less easy to see good and bad and heroes and villains. It's much more sort of, it helps us relate to what's going on today to understand that it's not so simple.
I loved season 1, and I've seen the trailer for season 2, and it just seems more epic, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Talk to me about the epicness increase with the season 2.
Well, we're really coming into a time where we're getting into the depth of the history of what's happening. So you've got the spy ring that's sort of running and making things happen. And you're also getting to meet Benedict Arnold. You're meeting Peggy Shippen. You're meeting Major John Andre in a more significant way. That love triangle that happens in season 2 is very interesting and very exciting. And on the other side, you've got Washington, and you're going to meet all sorts of characters from the history books, but you're going to meet them in a completely different way. So when you meet Benedict Arnold, he's not some ugly, like, disgusting, like, yeah. He's actually a cool dude. He's actually,
he's a male model.
He is.
Marcus Schenkenberg as Benedict Arnold.
Owen Yeoman. But that's really what it's.
Beckford as Benedict Arnold.
But that's what is sort of shocking about the show. I mean, Washington, hopefully he's a different Washington. He should be a different Washington than the one that we've all grown up thinking who he was. Because the Washington we all think about is sort of the man on the dollar bill who sort of looks angry and constipated all the time. And we're actually watching him as a general. We're watching him be a war hero. But just as important, hopefully just as interesting, more interesting, in fact, is that Benedict Arnold is there, and he's this. Seriously, he's the hero. Like I was saying earlier, he's the Tom Brady of the time. And so you're from Philly, so he's the Mike Schmidt,
right? No, there's no one you can use. That's the problem. That's the problem with Philadelphia. You have to dig. Like you'd be like, he's a Dr. J, like picking someone from the 1940s.
He's the Moses Malone, and he's the Tom Brady. Benedict Arnold is the Tom Brady of his time. And what does he do? He's the New England Patriots, which actually is pretty good now if you think about it as a Patriot. And he actually then decides that he's not going to be the Patriots anymore, but he's going to go play for the Jets. And he's going to be the quarterback for the Jets. So now all of a sudden, not only did the Patriots lose their best player, but now the Jets, their biggest rival, has them.
Do you realize he just turned this into?
He made it into some kind of reference.
The NFL on Fox. Michael Strahan, Jimmy Johnson. Congratulations, guys, on season 2. Like I said, season 1. I love this period. I love the show, and just from everything I've seen in season 2, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So, congrats.